So, in Christian philosophy and theology and ethics, we like to say that there is God. Now, that should not be a surprise, of course. However, there is also you. At some point in your life, you might think that it would be helpful to learn how to accept love from God. You might also find that it might be good to love God back. Now, this is all good and wonderful, but then it leaves out the question of where do others fit in? Because we tend to be rather underdeveloped or perhaps less than what we could be until we learn how to love other people. Now, we don't only do that just for the sake that they might love us back, but in fact, so that they might also learn how to love God. And if you notice, we're missing another arc here because as you go through life, you might find that it is a certain number of people that either annoy you or have hurt you or hurt people that you know. And so at some point, it's also a good thing to learn how to be okay with God loving the others that we seem to have a difficult time doing. And what we have right here is the flow of God's love in the world. But we're missing something. A very tricky little topic that in some circles is a little controversial. But it's all grounded in the fact that we like to say God is Trinity. God is 3 in 1, but within God's own self, the 3 persons of the Trinity love themselves very well. And since God knows how to love within God's own self well, we can learn how to love ourselves well and maybe even encourage others to love themselves well. And so what we have here is the flow of God's love in the world happening all around us because it first started in Him, and it can happen in us and happen in others. We like to call this a few things, but what we need to recognize is that the world is made less when we cut ourselves off and don't know how to accept love from God. Because it leads us to then not know how to love God back, and that can also cause problems because then we may not know how to love others very well. And then they may not love us back. And then they may not even love God because of that. And then, as a result of all of this, since we're quite disconnected from God, we may not even know how to love ourselves well or encourage others to love themselves well. And so in that case, the only thing that can happen is for God to be in the world loving other people well. But that's not the plan. The plan is that we should always be learning how to love well and to not block the flow. What we have here is the basic rundown of the flow of God's love in the world. That it should always be happening, constantly going in and out and among the world because, well, in Christian theology, we like to say God is the Alpha and the Omega. God is the start and the finish, the beginning and the end, the source and the completion of even love. And so may you find yourself within the flow of God's love, not block it, but instead help God to continue that flow happening in the world. This looks like a mess, but it makes sense, doesn't it? That's all for now. May grace and peace be with you.